Hello and welcome. Today I'm here with Maria Gabriela Guevara of Intuitive Ayurveda. And Maria, I just want to say thank you so much for being here and taking the time to have this conversation with me. And also thank you again for being a sponsor of the Self-Care to Wellness Bundle. I'm very excited to have you as part of it.
Thank you so much, Cassandra. It's such an honor to be here with you, and I'm so excited to be a part of this bundle.
Well, let's dive right in and get started. Can you tell me what drew you into the world of self-care or stress management in the first place?
Yeah, well, it's such a great question, and I think that it starts with my own journey of being a woman who was very stressed out and got all the way into burnout when I was coming right into my perimenopause time, and that's also part of the reason what drew me into the work because I mainly work with women in midlife in the perimenopause menopause transition, but it is so related to taking care of our stress and self-care. The other piece is that I am a clinical trained Western pharmacist. And so I know that one risk factor for just about every disease, every chronic disease, and as we get older, it gets even worse, is stress. And so it's a passion of mine for sure. And it is one of the pieces in Ayurveda of taking really deep care of ourselves.
Since you started talking a little bit about it, why don't you tell us what is Ayurveda and then tell us about your organization and the work that you're passionate about right now?
Yes, absolutely. So, great question, of course, because not everybody's familiar with Ayurveda. I feel like there's just now starting to be more familiarity coming into the West, which makes me happy. But Ayurveda, the word itself is a Sanskrit word. Sanskrit is the oldest language that's known. And Ayur, the part of Ayurveda, Ayur means life and Veda means science. And Ayurveda is a sister science to yoga, and it is thousands of years old. It originated in the Indus Valley of India. It is a complete nature-based system and a guide for all stages of life. So anything from conception to death, Ayurveda has something to say about it. And so it's very, very vast, including it actually laid out some of the very first surgeries and has components of psychiatry. Of course, they didn't call it that, but they had that as part of the system. And the entire system of Ayurveda is said to have been given to ancient rishis or seers, meditators from the divine. And the whole tradition has been passed down in oral traditions by women. So through kitchens, through like food as medicine, herbal remedies, taking wound care, all these types of things that women do with caretaking in kitchens. And of course, the women didn't have time to write it down. They were taking care of their families. And so the men were the ones who wrote it down in the ancient texts, the Vedas, the same texts where we get yoga from. And all of this was affected by British colonization and actually went underground for a long time. It was kind of repressed, but luckily did not go away and has been having a resurgence probably for the past 100 years or so and has been brought to the West by many people. One of them, one of the first people to bring it over was a man named Dr. Basant Lad, who came from India and has a long lineage all the way back thousands of years himself passed down of Ayurveda. But one of my favorite things about Ayurveda and why it kind of remains, applicable to us now is it is said in the texts, Ayurveda must be adapted to the time, place, situation, and people to which it's being presented. Otherwise, it will be useless. And
Ah,
so,
I love
yeah,
that. I
yeah,
love that.
yeah. So it's telling us like use it for your modern, crazy, stressful times that you live in. And so my organization is called Intuitive Ayurveda. And as I mentioned, I work particularly with women in midlife, in perimenopause, menopause, and beyond. I have worked with women into their 60s. Usually I'm seeing people around their 40s, 50s, just depends. And very passionate about the work that I do. And mostly I work with women one on one, but I also have a couple of group programs as well that I have run, including some cleanses and a program called Dream Body that was about such deep self-care and rest that your body can actually let go. And it's actually really about managing stress at the core of it, and regulating that nervous system so that the body feels safe enough to let go of any excess weight.
I love this. See, you learn something new every day. Thank you for that explanation. It's really helpful. And I really love the idea of it being a practice that's just telling you to use it and make it applicable to the times that you're living in and to the struggles that you're dealing with. So that's really interesting. So with all of the things that you have going on with the groups and the one-to-one practice, it sounds like you're really busy in your entrepreneurial life. So what does self-care look like in your real life? Like, what is one realistic or two self-care practice that you do that makes a noticeable difference in your life?
You know, I love that you said like one or two because there's so many. At one point, I actually tried to write like a blog post about all the stuff that I do, but then I was like, I want this to be accessible. I don't want somebody to feel like they have to spend
Oh,
their entire like all day long doing self-care, although we could. So a couple of things that I really do every single day, or I scrape my tongue. So I take a tongue scraper, go back and forth because that takes all the toxins off the top of the tongue that have gathered from the intestine throughout the night, and also it just helps you with the sense of taste, and it also stimulates the organs to digest, and it's such an easy thing to do. It's honestly one of the very first things I give every single client because every single person should be doing it, and you just pair it with brushing your teeth. You scrape your tongue and then you brush your teeth. That's one small thing. The other thing that I do every single day is I take a break in the middle of the day. So around noon, I always take a break to eat lunch because lunch is the biggest meal of the day. In Ayurveda, when the sun is the highest in the sky, our digestion is the highest. Before in the United States, before Industrial Revolution, we used to eat our biggest meal of the day
yeah.
at lunch, and supper was supplemental. And that's how our bodies are designed. So I do eat my biggest meal as lunch. That's a self-care thing, I guess, as well. And then I take a rest. Usually, it depends on how much space I have given myself or have. But I would say if you can't take a lot of time, literally take 5 minutes. And if you can go outside and just sit and do nothing, it is so nice to just reset by not looking at a screen, just looking out at nature and just being with yourself, breathing.
I love that so much because around here at Master Your Stress, we're all about finding ways to integrate self-care into your life in a way that's practical for you and that will work for you and makes it easy for you so it's not this another thing on your to-do list that's stressing you out. So I love all of those things. And they're simple and really, really easy to do. But a lot of women, it seems like they really struggle with self care and struggle with being able to add more self care into their everyday lives. So, when that's something that's happening, what do you believe is usually happening beneath the surface?
Mhm. This is such a good question. There's so many different ways to look at this. I think for one thing, as women, we're taught that true self-care is selfish. And here's another problem too. Our culture has taken that word and made it into something else to sell us things. So like you need this device for self-care, that device for self-care, and that's not true. It's deeper than that. So I think there's those two things. There's that permission that we care for ourselves deeply in the way that makes us feel nourished, and that you don't need to go out and buy a bunch of things to do that.
Yes, thank you. It does not
So
have to cost an arm and a leg to do self care
no,
at all.
no, no. And one thing that I have, and this came from my mentor, so I can't really take credit for it, but one thing that I have told women in the past is, especially those women that are moms, think about how you care for your children. Now, what if you cared for yourself in the same way? What if you took care of yourself the way you take care of your kids?
There's a truth bomb right there. The world would be a lot less stressed out if everyone was able to take care of themselves the way they take care of their children, or if they don't have children, their loved ones. It
Yes.
would be a game changer. The one thing I think that a lot of women have difficulty with when they are trying to incorporate more self-care into their day is having guilt about
Mm,
prioritizing themselves over other people. What do
yes.
you think? I mean, a lot of women
Oh
in a
my
lot
gosh,
of
so
different
common.
cultures. It really
Uh-huh.
is. What do you think is one mindset shift that women can do to help them prioritize self-care
Mm,
without all having all that pesky guilt getting in the way all the time?
yeah. I think that one of the ways we can start to shift that mindset, and in some ways it's almost like you could take it further, but just to start, you cannot give from an empty cup. And so if you are taking care of a lot of people, you need to be able to have taken care of yourself first. You're not going to be able to be there for them if you don't do that. And I just had a conversation with a client about this because she was saying, I asked her, like, why are you wanting to do this work with me? And she said, because I want to be there for my son, for him to get, be there throughout his whole life and be healthy. And I'm like, well, then that
Mm.
is your touch point. So in some ways, we can sort of turn that guilt and saying, well, I am doing this for them because if I'm wholly taken care of, I can take better care of other people.
Yes, I have said that to many a client. Like they're like, well, I have to, do this, that, and the other, and take care of all these other people. I'm like, well, what happens to your loved ones if you're not around to take care of them because you haven't taken care of yourself and you get sick and you're unable to? That is really is important to prioritize taking care of yourself. So, like you said, you're able to be there for the ones that you love in the way that you want to be there for them. So, tell us a little bit about the resource that you've contributed to the Self Care to Wellness bundle. What is it? Who's it for? What kind of problem does it solve?
The resource that I've contributed is a recording of my signature workshop. It's the holistic management of perimenopause and menopause with ancient Ayurveda. Actually, it says in the title kind of who it's for, women in midlife. Honestly, if somebody in their 30s has the wherewithal, I wish that we could do more prevention work, but it doesn't seem to really land with people when they're pushing through. It'd be great for them. But anybody in their 40s, 50s, 60s, beyond, it is all about looking at the three pillars of Ayurveda. So we're talking the three pillars are again just a tiny slice because, like I said, it's so vast. But we're talking about kind of prevention, and also this prevention, these things that are diet and lifestyle can also help treat some of the symptoms that can come up in perimenopause, because we're really usually revealing an accumulation of the way that we've lived our lives in our 20s and 30s when we hit our 40s. We're talking through in this workshop about the simple things that you can do related to the three pillars, which are sleep, food, and sex or energy management. So sex is kind of the name of it, but it's really about energy, and it's about our immunity, the way that we relate spiritually, and also our energy levels throughout the day and how often we get sick.
Can't wait to dive into it myself. After someone uses your resource, what do you hope feels different for them?
I hope that they feel as though they're empowered. You don't have to go searching externally for answers as much. There are things that you can do for yourself that will really help to change and shift your journey. I also hope that it changes their mindset around aging, and that coming into this new phase of life is a beautiful thing. When we go from fertility time of life, in Ayurveda we have stages of life. When we go from the fertility time of life to post menopause towards our elder time, when we're becoming, wise women, yes, we lose the physical fertility, and it's a natural transition, but we now have a cultivation, like we have this potential to move all of that energy into spiritual fertility. And there's so much energy unleashed that we are using every month to try to build the body to be pregnant. Regardless of whether you had babies or not, the body is doing that when you have a menstrual cycle. When you stop having a menstrual cycle, now you have all of this energy that can be shunted into new projects and new birthings of your choice.
Yes, yes. And you have the time to be able to do it. You're really starting to come into your own.
Mhm.
And there are so, especially nowadays, I feel like there are so many possibilities. For me, it makes me really excited about the
Yes.
possibilities in this
Yes.
stage, in this kind of third age of life. It's a great time to be alive, honestly.
Yeah. 100%
Absolutely.
agree with your enthusiasm. And I do feel like, to your point, we're like shedding all these things that are no longer serving us. And we're letting go of so much BS. We're like, no, I'm not dealing with that anymore. I can't put up
Yes,
with that anymore.
exactly. Like now, no, no more
Yeah,
nonsense at all.
exactly.
So, in your business, what are you currently building or excited about, and how can people stay connected with you?
I would say I'm still figuring out what the next thing is that I'm building. I would really love to have a longer program that's a group program, because I really want to work on building more community. So something that would be hopefully like 3 months long, where we have a community of women together, because hearing each other's stories and experiences is really just heartwarming, and also makes us feel less alone in what we're going through, and is motivating. So I love one-on-one work. And yet, I love community building. So I'm hoping that that's my next project. I have several ways people can keep in touch, but the best one is my newsletter. And if you want, I have also this beautiful starter kit on my website that people can grab that goes really well with the workshop that they're getting. It's a workbook that walks them through the three pillars. And when you grab that freebie, you also get to be on my newsletter. And I send out a newsletter about once a month, once a week, and most people really love it. I tell stories, I talk a little personal, but mostly educational. And I'm also on Instagram, but I don't really do a whole lot there. I am
Okay.
also on Substack. I love to write, so that's where you'll find me more. I'm
Not a
also on
problem.
YouTube, but still sort of figuring out like the regular cadence of that as well. So there's lots of places that you can check me out in.
Wonderful. And what I'm going to do is somewhere around this video, I'm going to have links to make it easier for you to keep in touch with Maria. And I've got one last question for you.
Mhm.
Can you tell me what is your favorite self-care or stress management related quote?
Yes. So I thought about this a bit and I decided to give you one that is mine.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I've
Okay.
done that.
Yes, well, you were actually the one that inspired me. I saw you do that, I think in your newsletter, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. So the favorite thing that I've been saying a lot of lately, and I think a lot of people understand when, and it kind of maybe hits them a little bit, is you cannot out drug, out supplement, or out biohack your actual life.
Boom. That is not only a quote, that is a truth bomb. It's true because all the things that you do, eventually they catch up to you. Oh, that's a good one. That's a really, really good one. I think people should take the time to really think about that.
And I'm going to say that again. You cannot out drug, out supplement, or out biohack the way you actually live your life.
Yes, yes. There is so much truth in that statement. Maria, I just want to say thank you again so very much for being here, taking the time to have this conversation, being a sponsor of the Self-Care to Wellness Bundle.
Thank you, Cassandra. And again, I'm thrilled, I'm honored. I'm so glad that we connected and excited about this offering to really help women manage their stress.
Yes, yes, absolutely.